So now we want to establish the width of the nose in the frontal view and how to draw the nose in the frontal view. And we've got a couple bits of information here that sort of seem to be competing and actually could inform your side view too. I don't have this measure in this example. You've got the alar curvature point marker, which, let me just sketch this in. I'm on my measurements front here. Let's get my brush tool. The alar curvature point is 3 millimeters out from the most lateral point of the nasal aperture. So 3 millimeters, so that's around 120, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be somewhere like that, a distance out on this side. Now, like I say, you've got a marker there. I don't, because we weren't using this marker when I first did this skull. So what that point indicates is the most lateral point where the alar curvature intersects with the face, the cheek. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the widest part of the nose. So like from the front, the alar could come out a little bit farther, but then go back behind this and then intersect with the face back here. Depends on the nature of the nose. So with those two pieces of information, you can get some sort of idea of the shape of the nose. So keep that in mind while you're doing this. And actually, if we go over here and just turn on the side view, you're going to have your alar curvature marker somewhere around here that's going to indicate where this should be. So we're using that measurement from RIN, but the alar curvature marker might give you some indication of how far back the alar should go. So try and take that into consideration. Like I say, I don't have it here in mind. So to establish the width of the nose, we're going to use the advice given by RIN, which is drawn from an older method developed by Gerasimov, where he said that the soft tissue nose, the nasal aperture width is 3/5 the width of the overall soft tissue nose. So that means this width here is 3/5 of whatever the overall nose is. So if we measure this width here, then we can pretty easily calculate what the width of the soft tissue nose is. So again, we'll use our ruler tool. I'm on my measurements front layer for now, and I'm just going to measure from this guide to this guide, which I dragged out, and it's 2.5. Okay, nice round number. So how do we get this value? We've got 2.5 centimeters, and we have to multiply it by 1.666666, so 7. And that will give us the overall value, the 5/5 from the 3/5. So go to the calculator. 2.5 times 1.667 equals about 41 to 42 millimeters. So let's see what that gives us here. And we'll minus the 2.5 from that, 1.6675, and we'll divide that by 2 so we can just move out from one side and then from the other. So 0.83, and remember this is in centimeters we're talking here, so that's just a little more than 8 millimeters on each side, which actually seems like a lot, but I think we're following the rules correctly here. So let me just clear my guides again. So we need maximum width there, maximum width there. Oops. Sorry. Move that over a little bit. And now we need to, so this is one's at 96, so we have to go back to all the way to 88. Seems awfully wide to me, but I'm following what the evidence seems to be telling us. Now, granted, if you look at this nasal aperture compared to many others, it is very wide and round. So, I mean, you can't let your biases judge what you think. influence what you think here, unless it seems so wrong that you must have made a mistake. But that looks like what the suggested maximum width of the nose will be, which, like I say, in this case looks quite wide. But I'm going to go with it. I'm going to erase this for now. And then let's look over at our side view and pull it over some of this information about the nose. I'm just going to shrink this a bit if I can. I'll zoom out a bit. So we've got the bottom of the ala there. So I'm drawing it over to match this. At the top here. That's also where pronasale is in this case. And then the way I've drawn it, I've sort of got the tip of the nose dipping under there. So if that's the maximum width of the nose, we're going to get something like this. The tip of the nose is there. So I'm just going to pull this over to kind of show the overhang of the nose. And then I'm kind of drawing it in sort of, I'm doing this on the wrong layer, I realize now. This should be on my sketch layer. So I'm going to just ignore this, please. I'm just erasing what I drew on the front measurements layer, and I'm going to put it on the front sketch layer. So in this case, the alar curvature point would be somewhere like this. So this nose goes out quite wide and then would tip back in. So you can imagine that the widest spot is going to be somewhere like that. I don't want that on my front layer, so I'm just going to erase that. And then we can also, I'm just going to turn off measurements. We can see that here the end of the nasals is quite broad. So we imagine a dorsum of the nose that is also quite broad. So this person has quite a wide nose. It's pointing pretty much straight out. And now if something seems strange, you know, like, oh, that looks wrong for a person, remember that it's the distinctive character of the face is the thing that would possibly help it be identified. So you shouldn't shy away from these things, but just be careful that you're following what the rules are telling us, at least. And that's all we've got to go by, really. You know, you shouldn't, and not be influenced by your biases of appearance. Let me just turn off the skull there. Anyway, that makes, if I go back, it makes it a reasonable looking nose. It looked quite wide when I was looking at it, but you know, that could work feasibly. I don't need that line in there. I was just trying to figure out the. And I'd like you to look at what they say about the bifid. So if there's a split anterior nasal spine, what it means for the tip of the nose, and what they say about the shape of the end of the nasals. So in terms of drawing the nose, it's always quite difficult because there's no real corners here to draw. but I'm just sort of sketching in how wide I think the nose is at the dorsum. These are guides for me when I want to go start modeling. So now you can see we've got the nose sketched in quite well, and because we want to sort of match the philtrum up to here a little bit. Excuse me. So we can sketch in these lines. Now these are not real lines, there are no real edges here, but when we're modeling we'll want to know sort of what the dorsum is like, and in this model is probably fairly flat. I look at this and I wonder about my decisions here a little bit, but because the nose turns down so much, I wonder if it's much more rounded. But I don't know what's influencing that, but I do have that guide of the nasal aperture. I'm drawing on the wrong layer too. Be careful what layer you're drawing on. So if I pop back to the side sketch, because the nose tips down so much here, I wonder if some of this is broken or not captured in the spine, but we've got such a broad nose that it might be a little, match the shape of the profile here a little bit more, to be a little more rounded, a little more like a pug nose. Okay, so we're getting there. I think we've got the nose established enough and the mouth. So the next thing in the next tutorial, we'll look at drawing the eye.